Hey guys, it's Jessica. Excuse me. And this is the tutorial for our sweet little girl picking daisies. You're going to see that I am painting on a 5x7 canvas board, which is smaller than what you'll be using, most likely. But all of our techniques are the same. And this is just going to allow me to get through the tutorial a little faster. Again, that's okay for you guys because you can watch and pause with each step. Let me move my paints off to the side. They're casting a shadow. I don't like that. So regardless of the size of your canvas, the colors and techniques are going to be the same, okay? There, how's that? Can we see everything? I think so. Alrighty. I like to go from dark to light. We're going to start with blue, and you can either use a darker blue. I'm going to put a little bit of a darker blue here. Or you can mix a lighter blue with a little bit of black. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Holy cannoli. Well, that's enough. All right. Anyway, it doesn't really matter because we're going to be slowly building up to a lighter color. But I'll go ahead and use this darker blue. And we usually use some kind of flat brush. This is a round, a filbert brush rather. It's like its corners are rounded. You don't need to have one of those. I just picked a bunch of smaller brushes. If you purchased a kit, or if you're watching this during one of the larger in-person paint parties so you don't get lost, just use the brushes that you have and that you are comfortable with, okay? So for the sake of time, I'm going to go right in here, use this larger brush into this darker blue, and we're going to lay it down. Brush strokes do not matter because we're just filling it in. Your canvas should be traced. There we go. So you can work within the lines. It's okay if you break through the lines that are traced for you also, because it's your painting, so it doesn't really matter. We're going to go down in here a little bit also, just to make sure that we have some sky through the grass, the daisies. Okay, that will work. And what we want is for this blue background to dry. Okay, and so we're going to go ahead and grab some green. I've changed my mind. We're not going to do that. We're going to go into the dress. And you can either use pink and darken it a little bit with some red, or start with red and lighten it ever so subtly with some white. It doesn't matter. Use the colors you have. I need to break through this cap. It's dried. And I usually have toothpicks right here for that. And I'm sure I'm looking right at them. I'm sure of it. There they are. I have my desk packed with all sorts of things because my time here, sometimes I have a couple hours and sometimes I just work in little sessions. It just depends. So I try to keep things close by. Okay, we've got it. Holy cannoli, Batman, that was a rough one. I'm just going to dump it a little from the bottle. That's plenty. All right. So what we're going to do with this is create the shadows first. Again, working from light to dark. The shadows of our sweet girl's dress. And to do that, we're going to almost just trace the lines. Can you see that? Can I zoom in? Yeah. Just a little. I'm going to trace the lines on the hat. Ever so slightly. Just like so. And then we're going to go in around the back side of her sleeve. Okay. And we're going to literally trace all the little lines on her sweet little dress. Not perfectly, because we're going to be mixing them here in a moment. We're going to go over this red seam here. And we're going to go down these lines here, just so. Just like that. We want to outline her little arm here. All right. Then we're going to go into white. And you might want to take some of that off. And we're going to work a pink out here, a darker pink. And we're going to go in again. Color that in. It's pretty dark. I'm going to lighten the smidgy. And we're just coloring in, but we don't want to blend all of that red out. See how that gives us a shadow right away? Shadow line. And we're going to paint in between all the lines, whether it's the red line or the perimeter line for the dress. We're just going to start to paint in between. Nothing has to be perfect. This is a fairly easy painting, a sweet little design. There we go. And see how we just kind of automatically blend in with some of that red, and it's already looking like our painting. And we're going to lighten it up a little more. I switched to a smaller brush now. And I'm going to go from right to left. And the whole idea here is to just give a little dimension so it doesn't look as flat. Okay, and we're just going to highlight any areas that will help make it look like it has some shape. So the sleeve is puffy, so it'll be rounded. We can just zoop. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just going to kind of go in here with our ruffles. And we're going to hit the back here a little. And so before, every shadow here in the dress is a wrinkle, correct? And so what happens is we have a peak and then a valley, and the valley is a dark spot. So the peak will be in front of the valley, like this. That's how you get a good wrinkle in a dress. And we're going to add these, and then we're going to walk away for a minute, because remember, acrylics always dry a little bit darker than when we laid them down. So we are going to need them to dry a little bit so we can figure out how we want to proceed with the rest. That got a little too light, but I'm going to let it go because I can always work with it. I'll just steal some of that white for the rest. And it's just paint, so if I overmix, it's no big deal. I can go ahead and reapply a little bit. Okay, we're going to let that go now. And we are going to go into some brown. And we're going to get out some yellow. Yellow. Brown. And we're going to use these two colors to mix for our hair and our hat. How am I doing? Pretty good. I just keep checking. I know I've zoomed in a little bit. I want to make sure that you can see the areas we're working on. So we're going to take this yellow and move some over here. And a little bit of the brown. And move it over here and mix it until we have this, it's like a straw color sort of. Okay, can you see that? And then I'm going to grab a little bit of this white. And so I have this straw-like color that's going to be the start of her hair. Then we're going to come over here and get a little more brown and a little more white. And that's going to be the dark part of the hat and her hair. Okay. And then we're going to take a little bit of the yellow, even though we have some brown on there, and we're going to go into the pink. A little more pink. We're going to add some white, and that's going to create the skin color. Okay. Now, if you're struggling with that, you can just mix in orange from red and yellow. I'll do that for you. Yellow, a little bit of red, and then some white. And that makes a peachy color. So you'll have peachy color. It's a little warmer. This skin tone is a little cooler. See how it's not quite as bright. And I'm just pre-mixing so we have stuff to work with. Since that's what's on my brush, I'll go ahead and start with her little arm here.
Let that dry. And then I'm going to go into this darker color. I might add a little brown to make it a little darker. And with that, I'm going to trace her hair just a little. Just to get some of that depth in there. And I'm definitely going to use it, and I'm going to trace over these lines we have in the hat, okay? And please, please don't worry. Remember, you can pause, watch a step and pause. Your canvas may be bigger than mine, but the techniques and colors are the same. And I've started to create these videos so that even if you're at my paint parties in person, you can link to these. A lot of times at these parties, folks just kind of hook up with their people, and that's awesome. I love that. We're going to mix that in with the white. Now, I didn't clean my brush. I just mixed it in with the white here. See? And we're going to kind of blend in around with these lines, but we don't want to take it completely away. We're not trying to blend those lines out. We're trying to paint in around them. And what we're working on is building the recess of the straw hat. You know, they don't lay straight on our heads, do they? They kind of flippity floppity around, and that's what we're building. There's flips and flops. There we go. And now I'm going to take a little more white because I want it to be even lighter. And I'm going to fill it out around there. I'm just going to go ahead and fill it all in. We don't want to mix it up. We just want to fill it in and give it a chance to dry. And it's okay if those lines come across a little bit. Actually, we kind of want that. There. Okay. So while that's going on, we are going to let that set on the hat, and we're going to add some of our blonde color that we made right here. And we're going to fill that in. And the dark that we laid in should have dried. So we can paint right over her hair. Just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and add a little white to it. Because I want it to be a little more opaque than it is. It didn't really change the color, but when we add white to it, it makes it a little more, less translucent, less see-through. Okay, we're going to go into some green now, and we're going to want a dark green and a light green
So we're going to just put a little green on the side. And I'm going to start with it as is. Just fill this up. Fill all this color in. Go on up in there. There we go. Then we're going to take that same green and mix it with some blue to make it a little darker. Again. There we go. We just want a darker green, okay? And we're going to kind of swoop up a little bit every so often. We need to add a little dimension to what we're building here. And then we'll make a lighter green by adding yellow. We're going to tap a little into the white, just a smidge. We're going to take our brush sideways like this and add some lighter. Ooh, that didn't get very light at all, did it? There we go. There. Just a little smidges up, up, up and up. Stroke up that way. Put some here maybe. And then we need to let that dry because it's just going to keep mixing. I just want to fill in that area. And we're going to go ahead and fill this in too. Just kind of fill that general area in. It doesn't have to be smooth. I'm going to grab some yellow and blob that in a while. Just for some texture and different colors. Okay, now we're going to go back into that sky, guys, but what we're going to do is make a lighter blue. So you can either take the color you've mixed and add a little white to it, or actually go into a little bit of a lighter blue. So even if we just go over it with white, can you see that? It's a pretty blue, but I'm going to mix one. I'm going to mix a lighter blue. And we don't have to worry about the strokes being perfect. The stroke marks are very visible in this painting. It's kind of an impressionistic application, I guess. Kind of, to me, when you see brush strokes, it indicates movement. But we don't want to cover up all the dark. We're just going to kind of follow the lines, and don't panic if you break them a little. If you color into something, don't worry at all. See how some of that green has come up for me? Not worried. We're going to let that dry. because we're going to go back with some lighter blue again in a little bit. What we want to do now is reapproach the dress, our lovely dress. And we're going to make an even lighter pink. Thoroughly clean your brush first. There we go. We're going to go into the white and make an even lighter pink. I picked up some blue. There we go. Okay, lovely. And this is dried now, so we're just going to go in there and do the same thing we did before. But look how much, oh my golly, how sweet is that? And we're going to follow the same lines we did before when we did the light paint, making sure that we allow for the wrinkles to show, right? The darker colors. Oh, I love this part when things come together and you can see it. Okay, and you can even just go into some white if you want to now and pop some dress highlights in, just so. I am going to grab my smaller brush and touch up some of those shadow lines. So this is going to have to be darker here. I want this to be more red or dark pink, whichever you're doing. Now I'm going to take a little bit of brown and mix it with this red, because there are places where the shadow lines are going to be even deeper. And so we want to make sure those start to build. And those places would be here in the armpit area, just like so. And in the arm, under the ruffles in the arm, her arm would be casting a shadow on her dress. We want to make sure we put that in. And mix it with your red. It doesn't have to be a perfect line. We're just making sure that's evident. It might be a little darker here in some of these wrinkles too. There we go. I'm going to leave that set now because I want it to be dry for the last highlight application. Just softening that line up a little bit. It was a little harsh for me. There. Okay. We know our arm is dry. So we're going to go in her arm. Put another application there. We know that because her arm is not flat, it would be lighter on one side than the other, don't we? So we're going to go ahead and kind of create the illusion of an elbow. Excuse me, with some white. And we also need a little bit of a shadow here. And we really need a shadow underneath her sleeve. Just a little, not too much. There. And maybe a little divot right there. You see, that's for the elbow. And if you think it's too much, then we just soften it up a little. Isn't she sweet? Oh my heavens. All right. We're going to go into her hair now. I'm adding some more yellow to this original golden color. Trying not to grab the green. And I'm going to add a little white for opacity. And I'm going to twirl my brush so that I've got a nice point. We're going to really fill these in a lot better. Then I'm going to go into straight white. I'm taking this off I pulled it off my brush. The color off my brush, and I'm rolling it. And I'm just going to add some streaks here for now. Now we're going to add more white to her hat. And maybe a little yellow too. A little white. Excuse me, a little yellow. And we're going to go into these highlighted areas. And we want to pull that color out. Son of a biscuit. Son of a biscuit. I don't have enough. I shouldn't have used this little palette is my issue. Okay. And we're going to be all the places that are not heavy with the ridges, right? We're going to put this lighter color. Can you see what I'm doing? Let's push it up a little. Boop. So here, I'm going to put some in here. We're going to add white here. And we're going to have it here because obviously it'll be whiter there on the cap of the hat. I don't know if you would call that a cap or not. Now we're going to go into white, a lighter blue again. And this should be our final application if we make it light enough. So we're going to really pull that white in. Like really pull that white in. Maybe some of this too. We want a very light blue. And we're going to kind of scrumble that in. Scrumble meaning we're going to roll our brush and apply it not in a clean stroke fashion, but kind of a cross hatch or crisscross. And I can tell you right now that mine is not as light as I want it to be. We're just going to chisel our brush, turn it sideways. To get what I want in there. I'm having so much trouble with my blue and my white because of my small palette that I'm just putting white on my canvas. We're going to scrumble that on there. That's better. Okay, it's looking better, looking better. Then we're going to create a lighter green, a much lighter green, almost limey green. And we're going to plop some spots in our bouquet. And we're going to take that color and we're going to start to add some grass. Thusly. I'm just grabbing a little more yellow so it's a little brighter. Basically vertical, because it's, you know, prairie daisies. Prairie grass is pretty straight unless it's a windy day. There we go. I want a little extra yellow in some of here. Beautiful. We're very close to done, actually. I'm going to rinse that. Now that I have a little more yellow, I'm going to go over my hair one more time with that. There. Oh, that's so much nicer. Okay. And then we're going to go into that and we're going to intently dabble circles. Maybe add a little white also. Because what we're wanting to do is make our daisy circles. I'm going to go down here. We're going to have one here. Here. Just start dabbing a couple yellow spots. They don't have to be perfect. The ones closer to us are going to be a little bit bigger. Okay. So I've been using a craft paint in my bottle, but I'm going to switch to a heavy-bodied paint, which you will all have available in your kit or at the paint parties. Actually, this will really what I should have started with, but it's okay. So So I've got a clean brush. I'm going into my paint and I'm going to add some highlights to my dress. I'm going to have a little highlight here. And here. And we're going to do it on each of the little wrinkles. And I want this to be a little brighter here. And then that peak that I talked about earlier, can you see? Let's go back. That peak I talked about earlier, we need to highlight those. Okay. And so there'll always be one right in front of your wrinkles. We're going to add a little extra highlight here because it's just a better white, just works better. We're going to do some here. And here. See how all those little things really start to help it come together. Now we need to do one more round with our background because I do not like that as is. I think it's too light. Excuse me. So I'm going to go in here with my thicker white. Nice, much nicer. Going to scramble that on here. So as far as design goes, when we're painting, we have what's called the grayscale, right? And so that is like on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being the darkest, 10 being the lightest. We want our paintings to have colors, shades, hues that represent something in each range. So a light range, a mid range, and a dark range. That's just what our eyes like to see. That's what happens in real life, isn't it? We've got our main subjects that are whatever color they are, and they are influenced and shaped by lights and shadows. And that can be hard to create on a canvas. So when we're designing a piece, that's something we consider so that the overall piece is really appealing to the eye. And sometimes it takes a while to get that built up, and that is why this white is important because we have all this field grass. And I'm just pulling some of that blue down a little. I'm going to add a little white to it. There, much better. Okay. So now we're going to add our daisies with this lovely white we've got going on here because everything else is dry, I think. It's pretty dry. And we want to go in with our smallest brush. And you can either make a stroke or you can just boop, go around this way. Just gently pressing your brush to create the flower, okay? Whatever works for you. So I'm going to press. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to press, boop. And I'm pressing. I like pressing because it really creates a pretty realistic looking daisy all on its own. Maybe just a little. Okay. Now we're going to find all those little yellow, those little yellow dots. Got too much paint on my brush. And we're going to put our petals down around those dots. And right now it just looks like they're free falling because we haven't put the stems on, but we will. That'll just be last. If you are looking at this painting, the one you're creating right now with me, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, it doesn't look right, I don't like it, I'm going to ask you to get up and walk away for a minute. Go get a drink. Go talk to somebody. Because when you're painting, your eyes kind of get stuck on the individual processes, each step. So, you don't really see necessarily in the moment. You don't see how the different colors coming together for the greens actually look like grass. Sometimes we just think they look like lines, or we don't think the daisies look like daisies, or what have you. And you really just need to get away sometimes. So please do that if you're really unhappy. Now I'm just putting in some just some little bloppity blops. I'm going to go into the white, no I'm not, into the yellow one more time and really brighten up the centers here. So we're going to make sure there's a good yellow blob in the center of each daisy. Then we're actually, you could use brown or black. I think it looks great with our dark blue. And I'm going to draw in a couple stems. Just a few stems to really kind of pull the bouquet together. So we're just going to make a line here. And we're going to trace a little bit to give some shadows for leaves. We'll add a little green here at the bottom. Green and blue together. And we're going to add some stems. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing here in the field. They don't have to be perfect because they would be covered up a little bit by the grass, wouldn't they? And we can add some leaves like we did the petals just by pressing our brush. And then we'll get a light green going. And we'll add a couple petals that way, just a few, maybe one here. Boop. And booping helps. Okay. And there we have our sweet little daisy girl. Oh my gosh. She is precious, isn't she? Now, you can change the color of her dress. You can work harder to cover the highlights or the marks on her hat. But essentially, we are done. She's sweet. Thanks for painting with me. I appreciate you guys so much. I hope you've enjoyed this. And we'll see you soon. Bye.